Hello and welcome. So I wanted to do this, I wanted to come in and just record here. Oh, okay, so I had done this recording earlier, um, but I'm having storage issues on my laptop, and so it didn't record because I really need space, and So, what I had received was this understanding of like this creation of these new paradigm relationships, right? And, I mean, you could say within the twin flame path, or there's this is that, right? We're creating these new paradigms of relationships, right? Um, how we relate, how we connect. How we understand really the world around us. How can we move beyond? How can we move past things when we, it reminds me of this like, like if you know something's a program, right, and you're aware of it, knowing this, how would you respond? Right, so it's almost like, well, at this moment, it's taking everything you do know, right, and it's okay. Well, how can I create a new relationship here? Whatever is occurring within your experience, right? How can I take this relationship that I am experiencing and perhaps shift it into a new space, right? You can imagine, like, how do I express this? So, evolution of a relationship, right? When you have a soul connection, this goes beyond, right? It goes beyond the 3D. So it's not like this 3D connection. 3D connection essentially means like, we're attracted to each other. I'm a man, you're a woman, or I'm a man, you're a man, and that's my thing. Whatever it may be, right? Whatever kind of connection, you're my this, you're my that. Right? I need you for this or for that. Right? It's something like that fits in your 3D world. Right? It's easy. It's a friend. It's a wife. It's a business partner. Whatever it may be. It's an easy fit. But a soul connection, it's not something you're necessarily searching for, although you may be just open, right? You're just open to soul connecting. You're open to soul connections. You're just open. Like some of us, you get to a point where, and it's like there's, you have your 3D relationships, but you're truly like operating from the space of soul, the space of spirit, of connection. Right? Of unity consciousness, of understanding that we're all here to do this work. to create something new. You know, your level of consciousness, your level of awareness of things. Also your own understanding within that. So how do you operate within that? Right, and we're all kind of starting to learn, right, how to operate from this space. Right. We're learning how to anchor this in. Right, we're here to teach people about, you know, connecting in this way, to connect beyond, right, this, to find meaning. To find meaning, right, in your experience, to move beyond, you know, for it to truly start to make sense. This isn't like woo woo la la la. This is transformational. Realizing your own self, realizing your own potential here. And realizing that whatever label you may put on it, your soul is moving towards this. Regardless. It is its natural progression, its natural evolution. It's humanity's natural evolution. It's the collective natural evolution. How we come together. Individually, collectively. How do we all fit? How do we all work together as one in order to create a new world? For our children, for our children's children, however you want to look at it, right? For generations to come. Understanding this has to be a world that we can all live in harmoniously, we can coexist, right? And this can be done. This isn't woo-woo. Again, this isn't woo-woo. This isn't, oh, you know, this, or like, just get over that already. Like, we all have the potential. Let's do it. Right, it's that. But it's this, it is really being in the realms of, like, let's feel through this. What's happening here? What's happening here on a deeper level? What's playing itself out? You know, and it's, so you have an experience with somebody, right? And it's, you can sit there and you can say, okay, well, what am I experiencing? What's happening on a deeper level? And truly coming into that understanding of what that, you know, what that experience is. Being able to share it. Openly, honestly. That's like this divine intimacy, right? But in order to really like get in there, like, you have to be really secure in yourself, because you are anchoring this in. You are the one who continues to anchor this in. To make it realized, one could say. You manifest it, you live in it, you co-create in it. Right? That is your, you exist within your soul beingness. Anchor in your existence itself as a soul being. beyond all things. This is recognizing yourself within all things. So I was shown this. Okay, so talking about the sacred marriage template, right? Okay, so I was shown this chalice, this infinity symbol within the chalice earlier. Infinitesimal. Okay, this is what it was. This to have and to hold. Right, to so in order to, you could say, experience sacred marriage, right? One must understand, like, what is marriage beyond the 3D understanding of marriage, where one proposes to the other, one says yes, they go out and they get married, and then, you know, they're married, they have kids, whatever it may be. Okay, yes, but you know, it's all role based. It's really performative. It's okay, so are you going to fulfill your duties and obligations as a wife, as a husband? But that's it. You know, and that's why I feel we have so much marital dissatisfaction, right? That's why we see so much divorce, because we don't. Number one, we've grown up in most likely families with dysfunctional relationships, right? We grew up in this. We grew up in this bullshit 3D marriage, you know, 3D family. Right? We grew up in it. So we are seeing the effects of that, right? Of that old type of marriage template within our reality today. So how do we, right, as a collective, as individuals, as, you know, responsible, right, humans here now, as soul beings, as enlightened ones, however we want to look at it, so how do we change that, right? How do we really, like, look at this here? You know, we got to look at how we relate, right, and the type of relationships we manifest in. You know, within my first marriage, I was married in the Catholic Church. That was my wish. Right? My ex, you could say, you know, agreed to it, but it was always this. I mean, we did everything, right? We did the engaged encounter, and I thought we're on the same page, and, you know, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, and everything's going to be fine. Meanwhile, ignoring the other things that were happening, ignoring my own dissatisfaction with the relationship. Really. Oh, well, when we get married, things will change, yada. You know, and I'm not saying that I didn't have, like, I was fully committed. Like, I was committed. I was in it to win it. But, you know, that's not always enough. You have to have, you know, it takes two to tango. Right? And my ex could not meet me there. And it showed up time and time again in our marriage, where I was not being met, where I deserved to be met as a spouse, right, within a sacred marriage. I deserve that. I deserve that, right? You take your vows and you expect that reciprocal exchange, and yet, I did not receive that from my partner, my ex-husband. And eventually I recognized the dysfunction within that and the staying within that, because it was not in anyone's best interest to stay within that marriage, regardless of, it, occurring in church and, all those things that you have to process through, right, in order to get to that next space, you could say. And, in this first recording I done, I talked about the annulment process and all these different kinds of things. And not that I understand the annulment process, right? And it's something I may do, I may not do, but regardless, it's still this, it's this process, right? It's this process that the church developed in order to assist somebody and, reflecting on, okay, so why did I make those choices that I made? And how can I not make those same mistakes again twice, right? And that was my that was my intention after I left my marriage. But what I found is this: well, number one, you have this void, really, when you get divorced on some level, because you have been living this life, regardless of whether it was a toxic relationship or not. But it's not an easy transition to make. But within that healing process, right, coming to my own space of what is sacred marriage? What is sacred marriage? And how do I show up as that sacred spouse? How do I show up as a partner within that sacred marriage? It's not just about, well, what can I get out of this? Right? It's not that kind of agreement. It's how do I actualize my full potential here? Within this, right? Within this. And it's understanding that you can actualize your full potential without needing any of these 3D connection things. You can simply vibrate as that, right? Create that space of that sacred marriage. Come to the threshold, come to the sorry, I'm just noting something. Something about the father, right? The father walks the bride down the aisle. So a while back, I really got into this studying of ancient really ancient marriage traditions, like the understanding of what marriage truly means, through religion, through all these different avenues, you could say. Like, what truly is marriage? What is a sacred marriage? What does it mean? What is that bond? And then how do you honor that? How do you bring yourself to that space? But it's always from that space of empowerment, right? We are, you could say, it's marrying yourself, and then it's recognizing your divine other. And then it would be that natural progression forward. Right? Okay, so then that would be bring about that physical reality. And I feel those ancient, wedding traditions, you could say, but it's like, because we have had this construct, right, When you look at the construct, it's, oh, well, a priest marries you. Right? They're the ones who determine whether or not you should be together, your parents, right? All these ways of really, almost like, well, you're screwed because you already committed to it, right? It's really like entangling you into this, like you're married, right? The idea you're marrying into something rather than recognizing yourself as this like independent, self-sovereign being, choosing this other and creating this something completely new. Recognizing, that evolution of relationship, because I've found within that it's this that very often, like, some of the best marriages are second marriages, sometimes even third marriages, because eventually, at some point you start to get it, right? At some point you start to, you're tired of the pain, you're tired of the suffering, and what do? You look for a new answer. I was going to say you look for a new spouse, and that's, that's within that. Again, you have to have two people completely 100% committed, but that has to have had already occurred, right? You can't bring in this these, I know, like, for me personally, within my marriage, we did all this relationship counseling while before and after, but what I found out, although I thought we were in agreement, right, what I found out was that there's still all this stuff happening behind the scenes, right? All the stuff that one is carrying into a marriage. And the sacred marriage, it's like you already do that. You complete, you finish all of this stuff, right? That you're letting all this go, right? You're healing your wounds. You're stepping into this role of like the divine partner. This is what a healed relationship is. This is what I'm activating into. This is this is the potential that I wish to reach within a partnership, within a relationship, etc., etc. And this is how one is within that. Me, as an individual consciousness, this is how I show up, right, within any relationship. And that the highest, you could say that one can reach is the sacred marriage with another. Where you essentially, marry one another. Right? How do you become marryable? And this isn't to say that like you're broken or anything, but if you wish, right, to be in the sacred marriage, right, you must hold to it. And when one does not honor, right, that, when one does not have the capacity to hold that sacred marriage, that trust in the divine, the trust in, the truly being brought together, right, by the universe, not by the system. The family, the old family, however it played itself out. It's freeing yourself of the system and then recognizing, you could say, your place within that. Okay, this no longer works. This isn't working. Now I get it. And then you need to have that vibrational match to that, right? That sacred marriage template. I don't like this. No, I'll keep going. There was just, there was just certain things in my original recording that I wanted to touch on, but I don't feel like that same flow there. As you step into those spaces, right, those spaces you have committed to, the spaces you've committed to honoring. Ahashana atene atemone ahashana ashine. So the stepping up, the stepping in, right? It's truly manifesting that potential. It's, well, you say you want this, well then you must step in. Ahashana atene atemone ahashana ashine. I'm brought back to where I know I've experienced it for me personally. Like it really, you can say it comes down to, there's some of this like abandonment. There's this abandonment stuff that plays itself out, right? Well, if I take that step, will I be met there? And there are those leaps of faith within relationships as well, and that's natural, right? As we move deeper and deeper into. But it is in the recognition of this old stuff is just not working. And it never really has. It's just what we lived in. Expanding out of these limited scopes of reasoning, of thinking, connecting to our true feelings, connecting to our authentic self, right? And anchoring in that full potential. No longer holding on to something that is dead, really. Something that's not alive, something that's recognizing where these hidden aspects are playing themselves out. Again, I talked about like hidden agendas, hidings. And just recognizing, okay. So often what you will see, and I see this all like with masculine and feminine. Let's talk about these almost like this disconnect between You know, there can often be this disconnect with the masculine and the feminine, I've seen, where it's like, you know, the masculine's all like, well, why is the feminine all out here, her head in the clouds? She wants this fantasy, right? And I'm over here and I'm like practical, right? I just mean the masculine. The masculine's over here like this practical. And then there's this like disconnect, right? And so maybe one gives in, right? One gives in to the other, you could say, giving in, right? This is all the old, right? How the old works. You give in, and nobody ends up happy. Nobody's happy because there was never this connection to begin with on, okay, well, what, you know, what are we creating here? What are we desiring to create here? What kind of relationship? What kind of connection? What kind of partnership? What kind of marriage? What kind of family? What kind of parents? And this is not to, you know, set up for like, you know, disappointment, right? Because this is recognizing each individual in their own right, in their own capacity, and they're working towards this. You know, it is within the understanding that marriage is work. It is a process of continually, you know, it's just like parenting, like true parenting. It's a choice. I remember I told somebody who was thinking about having, you know, bringing children into this world, and I said, this is a choice one makes every day. You know, some days are harder than others. And it's not about, you know, well, it depends on what kind of relationship you have, right, with yourself, with your children, whatever it may be. But it's that too, right? What kind of relationship do I have with myself here? What kind of relationship do I have with my spouse? What kind of relationship do I have with my children? And how does that all allow for us to reach our highest potential? How do you create that container? How do you create that that marriage, that relationship, that family? You know, it is bringing together that, right? Something entirely new. It's not something you can, it's the creation of that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how powerful that is? And being able to really start to really show, you know, you model the way forward. And that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do. So while, you know, having ups and downs within marriage is completely normal, and it's good, and it's a part of the process, right? This not being met, right, where one is at, and that level of a need within a marriage, like that's something that we're releasing out within a relationship. If I cannot be met where I need to be met as a human, where I need to be met as an individual, right? I need to be met, period. then how are we going to shift that? Right, but within that unconditional love, it's not in the, for instance, like the relationship I have with my mother. My mother is, she's got a lot of stuff, right? She comes from a lot of stuff. It's difficult. It's always been a difficult relationship. My mother is, she's got a lot of borderline personality. She's, I've almost felt like I've never been recognized. I've never been recognized. It is, wow. It's like I have, but then it's like, it's always like something given, something taken, if that makes sense. So it's always been hard. Well, how do you trust that? And how do you trust that when it's taken back and then given, right? Then I'm given something else, right? Whatever that may be. That I am. Right? I'm not who I am. I'm this. I'm this. Right? This is where I'm at. And and then you're caught up in it. It's your mother, it's your family, but that stuff, it's like, that stuff is really, really deep. It's not just, it's your relationship with yourself. And learning how to have that, learning how to mother yourself through things because you never had that mothering, right? That has to happen within the self first. And then when you can like mother yourself into being, right, you can mother, right? You're a mother. You've learned. You've given yourself everything that you possibly could give yourself in order to take care of yourself, in order to nurture yourself into that full potential, right? That you never received from your parents, your mother. I hope this is still recording. It is. But then also, how does that, right, that connection relate to all other connections? So for me, it was, during my healing journey, it was the recognizing, okay, of my sexual traumas, right, and how that interplays with your relationship with the masculine in various ways, right? So my relationship with my father was tainted by my mother's energy, you could say, right? My relationship with the world. My relationship with the world. My relationship with myself. How I find my place in this world. And so, it's obviously a very difficult relationship because I have to heal myself first. And then I have my needy mother. Here I am just trying to, get myself where I need to be, get myself well, right? And then this other person needs me in a way that actually is, you could say, damaging, right, to myself, because then I am no longer me. I'm no longer a person, right? I'm existing for her. But also recognizing that my mother is a human, and I love my mother. I recognize everything. I forgive my mother. I understand what she came from. I know she loves me. But I still have to honor myself within the relationship. Because otherwise I'm not, you could say it's a superficial relationship, right? And I don't know how to have a superficial relationship. It's just non-existent, right? Like my mom sits there like, well, we won't talk about politics. We won't talk about religion. Because all she wants is that, you could say, a way out of that discomfort. And by me, like, okay, that's fine, then we'll just do that, because I know it's not gonna change anything. So I choose something more. I choose something more for us, for her, for me, for us. I don't have to, but I do. Because that's just where that's where you end up going. Well, what are you going to go back to the old? No, that doesn't make any sense. Choosing something new for myself, and at the same time, it's choosing something new for myself. It's also, there's some growing pains there. So my mom's going to have to adjust, or what? But it's also that asking, okay, well, this is because it's recognizing the value too within the self. Well, I deserve that. I deserve that. And I know it would bring healing. Not in the sense of codependency where I'm sitting here and I'm trying to take care of her. It's not that. It's the like where she plays victim and I go over here and I it's okay, placating that victimhood. But okay, so back to, right, I've had to recognize my own, like I had to get in touch with my own pain, right, rather than carrying my mother's. What was my pain? And looking back at my sexual traumas and where I did not receive what I needed from my mother or my father, and where I took on unconsciousness, shame, guilt for something that I didn't even do. But because I had never, right, because of the upbringing I had, this, let's say, oh my gosh, everything with sex is bad, stay away from boys. Well, how do I, deal with things? How do I relate sexually? How do I connect sexually? And, there's no, and my mom was molested as a young girl, so there's no, understanding within that. What are healthy boundaries? How do I say no? How do I stand up for myself? How do I not have these things happen to me over and over again because I don't know how to say no? Because I never learned. So it's that healing the self, right? That heals things. And then that recognition of, well, so what happens now within society? So how do we learn how to raise our daughters? How do we not place our pain and our suffering on our children? How do we ensure that they do not carry our wounds? How do we raise, emotionally mature, emotionally intelligent young children who are able to create the new? Right, this isn't about, I have a young son, right? I want to see him have beautiful, healthy relationships with many different people. I want to teach him how to respect women, respect girls, right? But also how to, understand. You know, different types of behavior. Different types of behavior. So he grows up to be a strong, capable, kind, compassionate, aware young man. So he knows how to create healthy relationship with, again, whoever he chooses to. So these are the things that were really intended to heal within these unions. That's what these unions are about. We're not here to continue on in the old way, where we keep creating all this mess, right? No, it's really time to get a handle on, right, on what we are facing and how to create the new. I think I feel good there. And so it is.